Hello Patriots. I promised you there were two documents I would read out that were very significant. This actually is not one of those two. I just found this one, and this is so disturbing considering it's a CIA document, PDF. You have to hear this, and yes, you should be worried. Merry Christmas. Off with Your Head by Carol A. Valentine, President, Public Action Incorporated, copyright May 2002, so it's only in 2002, may be reproduced for non-commercial purposes May 15th 2002. Why have I only now found out about this? We can argue about who is most to blame, but the facts remain the same. Congress and the White House have been helping to establish a theocracy in America. That's right, in America, the nation that used to be a land of religious freedom. The would-be leaders of new theocracy want to abolish Christmas, call Christians idol worshippers, demand Christians give up their religion or be put to death, preach that Jesus practiced sorcery, worshipped stone idols and was sexually immoral, want to establish a caste system in the US based on heredity and religion, want to force US citizens to embrace a synthesized religion invented for a servant class. That'd be very Freemason. And now, since the advent of the 9/11 war, the would-be leaders of this theocracy are stronger than ever. I like how they call it the 9/11 war. Little stands between them and the realization of their plans. This may sound incredible, but it is as real as the ground beneath your feet and as serious as a heart attack. I can document everything I have said. Let me fill you in on the details. The would-be theocratic leaders that Congress and our presidents have been promoting are members of a sect called Chabad Lubavitch, headquartered in Brooklyn, New York. Chabad, sometimes spelled Chabad, is an acronym for three Hebrew words: Chokmah, Binah, and Das, which mean wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Chabad is Lubavitch and are functionally synonymous. Chabad describes a movement. Lubavitch is the name of the town, sometimes said to be in Lithuania, sometimes in Russia, where the movement was headquartered during the 19th century. Lubavitchers are subject to the Hasidic, sometimes spelled Chassidic Jews. Doctrinally, Hasidic Jews rely on the Talmud, on the Zohar, the basic book of Kabbalah or Kalaba, and the Tanya or Hatanya, written by the founder of the Chabad, Lubavitch Hasidics, sorry, had to laugh there, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, action.com/christmas.hotmail at hashtag foot1, see footnote 1. So anyway, the Chabad Lubavitchers also rely on the works of renowned Jewish teachers such as Maimonides, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Of course, they rely on the Torah, but note that the word Torah in Jewish religious discourse is somewhat elastic. It can denote the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, 2, the Old Testament in its entirety, 3, the Old Testament in its entirety, and the Talmud and the entire body of Jewish religious literature. Reviewing the above, we can see doctrinally Lubavitchers are not an aberration within Judaism. They are as much part of Judaism as the Dominicans, the the Dominicans, are part of the Roman Catholic Church. It would be misleading to call the Lubavitch movement a cult, as some have done, without so naming mainstream Orthodox Judaism. Important Lubavitchers. For contemporary Lubavitchers, the most admired is late Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, or simply the Rebbe. I don't know what the difference is, they're spelt the same. Jewish people call a rabbi with whom they have a close and personal relationship their Rebbe. Since I feel as though I have close and personal relationship with him, having read much about him, and since I am not Jewish, I will use the Americanized form of the word and call Rabbi Schneerson the Reb. Some Lubavitchers consider the Rebs their Messiah and await for him to return from the dead. Others say that the Messiah is really the Jewish people themselves. If all that is beginning to sound weird and fringy, realize that Lubavitchers do not confine themselves to Brooklyn, New York. They have immediate and constant access to the President of the United States, George Bush's press secretary, Ari Fleischer, a reformed Jew works the Lubavitcher mission. So, they're in the White House. The most prominent backer of the Lubavitchers on Capitol Hill is Senator Joseph Lieberman, D-Con, an Orthodox Jew, and the former candidate for the Vice Presidency of the United States. The chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Carl Levin D. Mitch, has commended Chabad Lubavitch ideals in a Senate floor statement. Jewish members of Congress regularly attend seminars conducted by a Washington, D.C. Lubavitcher rabbi, of course from Washington, D.C., the Assistant Secretary of Defense, Paul D. Wolfowitz, the computer of the U.S. Department of Defense, Dov Zakim, an ordained Orthodox rabbi, and Stuart Eisenstadt, former Deputy Treasury Secretary, are all Lubavitcher groupies. Worldwide Lubavitch resources. According to the Jerusalem Post of October 19, 2001, Chabad is a potent force, 2,600 institutions around the world. Large numbers of English-speaking rabbis control of most of Judaism in Italy, as well as the chief rabbinate of Russia. Oh, here we go, in Russia as well. Its Russia budget alone is 20 million a year, and this is back in the 80s, I think. It is an organization with immense worldwide financial resources. In fact, Chabad is a movement of monumental importance. Observant Jews are profoundly dependent on its emissaries all over the world. Its rabbis dominate or are poised to dominate Jewish communities in a startling number of countries. A whole bunch of links there. The Jewish Virtual Library tells a similar story. More than 3,700 emissary couples work in more than 100 countries worldwide. Since 1995, more than 400 emissaries were assigned to new posts, and more than 500 new Chabad institutions have been established, bringing the total to nearly 2,600 institutions, seminaries, day camps, school, etc. Worldwide, according to headquarters, almost 1 million children participate in Chabad activities worldwide in 1999. Oh, wow. Yeah, and what happened to those activities, eh? Barash Goldstein, here we go, a Goldstein, there we go. The American Israeli who shot 29 Muslims to death as they prayed during Ramadan at the Al-Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron in 1994 was a Lubavitcher. Lubavitch rabbinates are hereditary, passed from father to son, sometimes from father to son-in-law. His Goldstein's family ancestry through his mother went back 8 generations to the Baal Hetanya, founder of the Lubavitch dynasty. That answers it right there. Baal. 1 year later, Purim, Hebron, 1994, remembered by Dr. Manfred R. Lehman, mirrored. It's got a couple of links there. Now back to Lubavitcher Ari Fischer, the Bush press secretary, who is one of the most active Lubavitchers in Washington, D.C. This from the Baltimore Jewish Times of October 26, 2001. Great. So this is not long after the towers, right? Like that of most high-ranking White House officials, Press Secretary Ari Fleischer's life has been an exhausting blur since the September 11 terrorist attacks, as I was just talking about that. But he took a few hours off last week to pick up an award from American Friends of Lubavitch and to help boost the group's extensive Jewish outreach efforts on Capitol Hill. Efforts that Mr. Fleischer, a former congressional staffer, has supported from the beginning. He was given the group's Young Leadership Award, and Senior Joe Lieberman D. Con was the night's honoree at a dinner that drew hundreds of Washington political bigwigs. Capitol Hill staffers and Washington money people. Mr. Fleischer was an early leader and co-president of Chabad's Capital Jewish Forum, which brings together lawmakers and congressional and administration staffers for Jewish events study. In a show of bipartisanship, both Mr. Fleischer and Mr. Lieberman lavished praise on the active Chabad effort that emphasizes the army of young staffers in government and political jobs. By James Besser, Baltimore Jewish Times. We've got a few links there. So we see the Lubavitchers focused people, whether they're committing mass murder or controlling American Congress and the White House. Very evil people. And that's because they support Baal, not God. Lubavitchers are not integrationists. The Lubavitchers are proselytizers, but of a different sort. They want to make all Jews reform, conservative, or orthodox. Hyper-Jewish, thus we see Orthodox Jews like Lieberman and Reform Jews like Fleischer standing side by side working the Lubavitcher program. Lubavitchers don't want to convert non-Jews to Judaism. They want Jews to understand they are a class apart from everyone else. Remember, these are Khazarian Jews, right? They're not the real Jews. In a letter he wrote in 1964, Schneerson deplored intermarriage of Jews and with non-Jews, calling it spiritual cremation, and called the concepts of freedom, equality, and integration misconceived ideals. This is particularly amusing inasmuch as the Jews led the movement to forcibly integrate the South, which resulted in 1964 Civil Rights Act. The Religious Action Center for Reformed Judaism tells us that during the Mississippi summer of 1964, Jews made up half of the young people who volunteered in the effort to end segregation.